And I'll do 7A and 7B, and that's to authorize the mayor to execute an agreement with Vaz Quality Works LLC for project NTOD 2014-1. It's the pedestrian access enhancement on Dr. Martin Luther King Drive and Clay Street for a sum not to exceed $246,037.21. And B, it would be the contingency for Vaz Quality Works enhancement on that pedestrian access project for a sum not to exceed $24,604, and the accounts are noted for the NOC Redevelopment Agency.
Mr. Petrini moved the item. Mr. Kimball.
Yeah, I know. We've heard. I have a couple. First, a comment. Some months ago, when we had a rather controversial item that related to Row-Ayton Avenue, I mentioned that the more I began to look at that item from the perspective of a commuter, and someone who's commuted for 20 years, the more sympathetic to that project I became. And here we have another project which is, I understand there's a lot of, in my view, even though it's a bit expensive, from my view, there's so many good things associated with this project that I think we should support it. But I want to focus on that one aspect that always concerns me is, number one, the commuter accessibility, the ability to walk to the South North train station. You've got to understand, every person who walks to that train station on a daily basis to commute and comes back, that's over $600 a month they're saving. This is a big deal for a lot of people. It's very expensive if you don't. It's very inexpensive if you don't have to drive. It's very expensive if you have to drive on top of what you're already paying Metro North. So it's a big deal. And people are not going to walk if they do not feel safe early in the morning and coming back at night. So whatever we can do to ensure that safety for commuters, I think is really important. And as I said for Row-Ayton Avenue, I'll say it for this. I think we need to bend over backwards to ensure that all of our commuter stations are, number one, accessible to walkers, to bikers, to ensure that the folks are safe in bad conditions, because you got to understand, around these stations, anyone who commutes knows there are people who are late for their train, and they are in cars, and they are in a hurry, and you got to be careful. The people on foot are late, and they are in a hurry, and the people in cars are in a hurry. And this is really a dangerous, dangerous situations. And imagine with a winter like we had today. So the less people in cars going to the station, the safer it is, in my opinion. Okay, now, the other thing, I'd like to ask Ms. Schweitzer a question. One thing that stands out to me is, and I have mixed feelings about it, the $30,000 for plantings. To me, it's rather steep. I talked to a few people, and they seem to agree. I also, on the other hand, know that it's rather steep grade we're dealing with, and some of the plantings may be necessary, okay? Erosion, reeds, things like that. But what I would like to do, and I don't know we have to do this formally, but as this moves along, I would encourage the agency, which I think will be monitoring this with DPW, both of you, to do whatever you can to cut this $30,000 down to a much more manageable number. It seems to me it's quite high, and that we could take possibly $20,000 right off the cost if we could work something out regarding the plannings. That's my main thing. I plan to support it. I think it's a project that's worth supporting. Again, Hal, I have a question, a procedural question. As I indicated before, it was made so it was impossible for me to go to the last meeting. So, but when I did see the agenda, I got a little totally confused, because this was the third time it had gone to the DPW committee. Okay, it had already been on a council agenda. It had been vetted by, redevelopment, this, that, and the other thing. And when I saw the agenda, I saw two things that struck me that it didn't make any sense. One, the expiration for the bids. It's like this week, coming week or something like that?
March 26th.
March 26th, but it was an agenda item. It was a discussion item, even though it was the third time around. So what happened? How did it get on this agenda? Did you guys suspend the rules?
Yes.
Why on earth was it a discussion item?
When we were preparing the agenda, the discussion I had with Mr. McCarthy was we weren't clear as staff what the intent was. It was sent back to committee but there was no guidance on what the committee was to do. So when I discussed that with Mr. McCarthy, he wasn't quite sure either. He said, let's put it on as a discussion item. Let's give it every,
Let me cut you off then, but we would have killed it, because you guys don't meet until next month. The bids would have expired. What would happen if the bids expired?
okay, but
But I understand what you're
if the
saying.
bids expired, then there are several options. One, you have to go back out to bid again, or you could go to the bidder and ask him to extend his bid time.
I agree. Look,
You know.
Hal, not your fault. Let me ask some questions I already know the answers to. I'm very uncomfortable with the way this was handled. That's it. And I hope it doesn't happen again. I'm not blaming anybody, but it's true the politics got tangled up in a really simple, focused project. Thank you.
Mr. Bonifant, I think you had a hand.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate the courtesy because I received an email from Mr. McCarthy today, Councilman McCarthy, and he asked me to read a page and a quarter here as chairman of that committee. So not quite the apology that Mr. Mushak is looking for, but there's an apology for not being here. So these are his words and not mine. I think he's on a 2-week tear celebrating Irish History Month or something. So, first,
It's his birthday, too.
these are Mr. McCarthy's words. First, I would like to thank all members of the Public Works Committee for a respectful discussion and debate on this issue. We all spoke our mind and voted. I expect the same thing will happen here tonight. The project here tonight was proposed by the Redevelopment Agency as part of their vision for the implementation of the transit-oriented development plan around the South Norwalk train station. That vision was voted on at a high level in October 2011 by the Common Council, but nowhere in that document or any other is there anything as specific as an identifiable project such as this. No one from the council had seen this before it showed up to the Public Works Committee. A line suggesting that the 2 stairways, not just one, from Martin Luther King Boulevard needed rehabilitation in a very large study that was the only evidence that something like this project would be undertaken. That is an issue that Mr. Sheehan from the Redevelopment Agency has acknowledged, and we will work to ensure that all such projects come before the committee well in advance of the point at which a bid package has been created, thus saving a lot of headaches in the long run. I don't think anyone from the council has an issue with implementing the aspects of this project that deal with enhanced safety, such as lighting, a phone, or other things such as crosswalks. The issue before the council is whether the city's precious capital budget dollars should be, 1, spent on replacing staircases that are in reasonable shape when we have other staircases and infrastructure such as sidewalks, retaining walls, and a myriad of ADA projects which are neither funded nor scoped for the completion, and number 2, whether it is appropriate to incorporate a heating element that would possibly eliminate the need to shovel the stairs, but for which we have no known cost estimates for ongoing use. My field research did not reveal a staircase that needed to be replaced, nor do I believe a reasonable person would conclude that the stairs in question need to be replaced or that replacing them will anyway create more users than the approximately 140 that do now use the place. Short paragraph here. Additionally, while the cost of heating these stairs may not be in the millions, we don't have any real idea how much it will be, nor can we be sure that it will eliminate the need for all labor to clear the snow. With no data to support this technology, I think the prudent thing to do is to send this project back for a redesign to address the actual rehabilitation of both sets of stairs, which are needed to address the real needs of the neighborhood. SONO is a vital part of Norwalk. Transit-oriented development is a valid strategy for this part of SONO. Dumping all the money allotted into one set of stairs is not a great first step. Thank you. Those are Mr. McCarthy's words.
You told us that twice.
Yeah, but in case you just tuned in, I just
We got it. Any further comments? Ms. Bowman?
Yeah, I want to speak in support of the stairways.
There are a lot of pedestrians, that walk to the train station, not only from South Norwalk, from the Brookside area, and also from across Connecticut Avenue. That's how they get down to the train station. South Norwalk is the main train station. I work with people from out of town, and if they can't get to, East Norwalk or Wayton, or sometimes even Westport, they come down to our train station. So I think that, the area, we should have something nice, I won't take offense to anything that has been said, but South Norwalk deserves nice things also. So I know Wayton has gotten got a lot of funding to various projects. I don't want to see our projects attacked. Our residents deserve nice things also.
Thank you. Any further comments? Mr. Sims, then Mr. Hempstead, then Mr. Igneri, and Ms. Stewart.
Yeah, I think this is a much-needed project as well. I frequent go up and down those stairs. I do a lot of jogging in the area, and I use those steps a lot. And there's not 140. There's maybe 400 or 500 folks that use those stairs on a daily basis. And those stairs are in pretty bad shape. I think the scope of that project and some of the recommendations, such as the heating stairs, I think will eliminate the ice and things like that. Now, I don't know if any of you had the opportunity to visit those stairs. That's a very steep stairway, okay? And you have mothers who are going out with carriages, etc. And I think if we can spend so much money in different projects throughout the city, that's a safety issue, and that's a project that should be supported, and that because it's not just for the folks in that neighborhood. It's for everyone that uses it, coming in from out of town as well, that parks up in the various areas up there. And I think that as my colleague alluded to, that South Norwalk deserves nice things too. Okay, and it's very rare when a project like this comes before us, and it gets support. And I think that we should be moving in this direction and making sure we're beautifying South Norwalk along that corridor. I think it was last night. It was something brought before us where they were saying maybe we could start putting some art down in that area as well. And I think that can go coincide with the stairs and a lot of the other projects going on throughout South Norwalk. So I will be supporting, and I hope that all the rest of my colleagues here on this side, as well as on my side, that we support this project. It's much needed. Thank you.
I think the last time we talked about you running up those stairs, we asked if you did the Rocky dance when you got up on the top.
I'm too winded after that.
Mr. Hempstead.
Well, hopefully we can all respect one another's difference of opinions on certain items. First of all, let's go back to things. There was a TOD study. There is a capital budget. The capital budget usually has about 80 items that we're financing in. I know everybody sits at this table and tables before don't necessarily agree with everything that's on the capital budget, whether it should be funded or not. But as we've always been told in the past, when any of these plans, TOD included, TOD is pretty much a broad stroke plan, that your chance to either have an opinion about a particular item or any kind of vote or whatever is when that particular item comes up. So we may have a difference of opinion. Because I voted for both of those, okay? But I also know there's things in there I liked and didn't like. Is it that I don't like the stairs? The answer is no. Do I think there was a conscientious effort after both of these came way over what anybody anticipated they were going to cost, to take out maybe some of the bells and whistles to try and make both happen versus one happen, and basically not get around even doing the second one? So I look at this, does the stairs need repair or not? Yeah, could there have been a way connecting Hamilton both with this street? Maybe. I don't know if we went that far. It doesn't sound like we ever looked at a way of bringing the two together, then bringing them down. So because of that, I'm just going to oppose it just because I think it's too much money for too little, in a sense of the bigger picture is going to get ignored. Now, the other one's probably never going to get done because there's never going to be enough money. Nobody's going to put that kind of money into us. Well, one never knows, when do we? But lighting, yes, I get it. Improving the stairs, yes, but all the other things that go into it, there's probably $100,000 on that table out there that could have been reworked. And so I'm just not supporting this, nothing about not supporting South Norwalk, or, I don't think anything should ever be construed, no matter what we vote on, what part of town. It's all the tax dollars from all our tax people in this community go into the pot. And we got 4R programs, got paving programs that does every street in the city somewhere, some way. So I think it's important to understand that. Projects stand alone on their own merit. I'm positive this thing is going to pass tonight, because knowing the way the votes were going, I'm just saying, I have a right to slightly object, and if it was a little bit less expensive, I probably wouldn't have as much issue with it. That's all.
Mr. Igneri and then Ms. Stewart.
I'm going to support the staircase tonight, and I'm supporting it primarily for safety reasons. I drive by there frequently, coming to City Hall and going home 3-4 nights a week, and that staircase is dangerous. There's the lighting at the base, right on Martin Luther King, is not bright enough. People come down that stairs, or just starting to go up that stairs. They're standing in the street as you're trying to go down Martin Luther King Drive. It's dangerous, and I think the improvements are much needed. And that's why I'm voting for it. But I'd also like to make another comment. Councilwoman Bowman had said Rowayton had all that money spent. Well, I think the residents around the Rowayton Railroad Station would have gladly given you all that money to put in several staircases, because we didn't want that project. But that aside, I support it.
Ms. Stewart.
I also will be supporting this project. I feel that it's about time. Stuff like this has taken precedence, and we're finally seeing some improvements coming our way in South Norwalk. Speaking on behalf of my seasoned citizens who travel that path a lot, we utilize that stairwell also, because we run up and down that staircase. That's part of our exercise regime. But there are a lot of seniors who can't drive, and they walk up and down those stairs all the time. And it's really important so that they're not afraid to come and go. The lighting is horrible there. In the wintertime, you really do have to hold on to walk down those steps so that you don't fall. So it's very important that this is done. So I will support this wholeheartedly.
Ms. Maggio, Ms. Giandirco.
I will not be supporting this project. I've done a lot of homework and looking at the backup. I spoke to Mr. Alford today, I called him directly to go through some of my concerns. After looking at the bid sheets that were provided, it seems that although there is the need for the Clay Street stairs to be worked on, the work needed or proposed for Hamilton came in almost an additional $200,000 more. So I just don't like the amount of money that's been put forward for this one set of stairs. If the need is there for both to be fixed and for all the residents to have the best access possible, I feel like this money could be spent a little bit better to really fix a bigger problem in the area rather than just one staircase. So I will not be supporting this.
Ms. Melendez.
He had his hand up.
Mr. Watts.
No, I'll defer. I'll defer to you.
You sure?
Yeah.
All right. I also am supporting this project. I'm very familiar with the area, and my grandmother actually lives in the area and uses those, or tries to use those stairs as much as possible. I do understand people's concerns with the money. My only concern was actually Councilman Kimmel's concern with the plants. I think $30,000 is a little too much for plants, and hopefully there will be a way to work that out. But in its entirety, I will be supporting this staircase and overall plan.
Mr. Watts.
Yeah, I hope that we can support this. Oftentimes we talk about improvements in the urban core, and someone asked me, said, "What will it take for you to shut up?" I'll tell you what. Fixing things in the urban core, which means sidewalks, road paving, and improvements in the urban core. I promise I'll shut up. I think that to me, this right here is gonna help improve the area. and, you know, improve the conditions. I mean, you're going up and down a flight of steps. So, as Travis, as Councilman Sims said, you know, there are people who may bring strollers down or walk or use those steps, and there's a lot more people than probably recorded actually use the steps. I mean, you know, it's in an area where, you know, we want to see improvements being done, and this goes one step to definitely improve things in the urban core. And, you know, there is, you know, sometimes we get into discussion urban versus suburban. You know, the more improvements that we can make in the urban community, it's going to go a long way. You know, no community is greater than the sum of its parts, and, you know, we really have to make improvements all across the city. And from talking to the residents of South Norwalk and the leaders from South Norwalk, they really want this. And I think the way our city government has been organized, and the fact that you have representation from each individual district as well as at large, we really are under pressure sometimes when we represent the urban core for people to see those improvements. And you might think it's just a flight of steps, but for the people using it, they could feel like, hey, you know, things are moving in the right direction. And I think that, you know, these steps actually take that step towards improvements in the urban core. And if we can do that, that would be great. And I promise you, if you fix things in my district, I won't say anything at these council meetings, I promise you. I hope my colleagues, I know that, you know, Dave has some valid points, and I said at our meeting that, you know, he had some valid points, but at the same time, the leaders of South Norwalk actually want this project in their district. So I hope that as a courtesy that we could support things that are good for individual districts as well. Thank you.
Further comments? Well, since we have 14 people here tonight, I don't think it'll be a tie vote, but if it was, I want to put my wholehearted support behind this project. I think it's something that's needed. I, too, go down that area frequently. Dealt with that area as a police officer with people getting hurt. It's dark, it's dangerous, and when we have ice, it's even more treacherous. So I think this is a good step in the right direction and starting to improve an area that is screaming out for improvements and for investment and getting it right. So having said that, I don't know, I don't think so, right? Nobody's called for a roll call vote, right?
Yeah, roll call vote.
Okay, roll call vote. Clerk?
Mr. Bonifant,
Yes.
Mr. Hempstead,
Nope.
Mr. Anacone,
Yes.
Mr. Kimmel,
Yes,
Ms. Stewart,
Yes.
Ms. Melendez,
Yes.
Mr. Watts,
Yes.
Ms. Bowman,
Yes.
Mr. Sims,
Yes.
Mr. Kites,
Yes.
Ms. Maggio,
No.
Ms. O'Toole Gianderco,
No.
Mr. Petrini,
Yes.
11.
Mr.
11-3.
Aguirre says too.
Okay, 11-3, the motion carries.
I'm sorry, Mr. Mary.
Oh, Mr. Aguirre, we
Sorry,
knew your vote, so.
sorry.